Welcome back. Welcome into Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com, a CBS sports podcast. I am Mike Casazza. Today, this will be a basketball broadcast. Previously this week, Q&A episode, promising basketball, focused on football. Followed up, a little Rem Baker supposition, if you will. If he gave us the keys, what would we fix? Today, basketball. It's about that time, Chris Anderson. 8-2, on the verge of the top 25 once already this season, maybe there again before long. Healthy rankings in the net and KenPom. But there's always a but, isn't there?
Always. And I think it's a healthy but. It's a healthy discussion and a good point. And I wish we could find out specifically who asked the question, but a couple people have brought it up, and I think it's worth discussing. How is this year different? The reason that question is asked is because West Virginia started 11-1 last year. 11-1. I don't really recall if they were like in the verge of being top 25 as well. I think most people maybe kind of knew they weren't facing the toughest schedule or saw the flaws at the same time. But yes, started 11-1. Actually, then won 2 of their first 3 conference games. So they were 13-2 and already started 2-1 in conference play, and then ended 16-17 and 4-14. So in the second half of that season, they went 3-14 to end the year, including 2-13 in conference play.
Yeah, don't forget, like, they had that okay start to conference play, and then they won a game in the conference tournament too. So a lot of their wins they bookended in the middle was, it wasn't great. I would not call it a jelly sandwich or anything like that.
No. So Mike, how is it different? How's it different? Give everybody hope. Why is West Virginia not going to lose? What is this? 14 of 15? Yes, 14 of 15 at some point this season.
Well, hold on one second. Let me undo this button. Yeah, knuckles cracked. Guys are making shots.
All right, well, that'll do it for the podcast. Thanks for joining. Next time, you say that. You say I'm Mike says. I say I'm Chris Anderson.
It's silly. It may only amuse a couple of us, but it's true. They are making shots this year. They're scoring like they have not scored before. They already have more games, 80 points, than they had all last season. So 80 is an upper echelon number for an average, and that'll certainly lower when they get there. But to already be what took them an entire season to accomplish last season, that says something here. And their points are coming from different scorers too. What I mean by that is it's not just give it to Sherman and give it to McNeil and hope that they can bomb some threes, but you have perimeter people, you have perimeter people who shoot, perimeter people who drive. You have forwards who can flash outside and forwards who can score inside. You also have a big guy you can give it to. They really can score from multiple levels here. And just to start us off here, Chris, just more competent offensively.
Yeah, I want to get into the depth part of that here in a minute, but just to generalize, to put in perspective, the shooting percentages going field goal, what you shoot from the floor, free throw, and 3-point. For essentially the last 4 years, 5 years maybe, it's been 40, 70, 30. 40% from the floor, 70% from the line, 30% from 3. All kind of bad. So far this year, 50, 74, 37. Like, is that sustainable? No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to shoot 50% through Big 12 play. I don't think they're going to shoot, almost 40% playing a Big 12 conference schedule and a tough SEC team in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. But I think they've got enough of a head start, and they've shown that they could do something offensively that it won't be what it's been the past 5 years. And I think you can say pretty definitively that the offense is better this year. And so let's stick there, because to your point, and you wrote about this, you asked about this, you wrote about it. There's options. Like guys like Eric Stevenson in this past game was bad. He just I think he ended up with 8 points, but he got in foul trouble, got frustrated. It wasn't his best game. And it didn't matter. Even though they were playing against a top 50, Ken Palm team, likely NCAA tournament team, it did not matter. And there have been other times where, Trey Mitchell had an off night, didn't matter. Emmett Matthews had an off night, didn't matter, because other people were stepping up. And I think that's the most important thing, because it wasn't Taz was off tonight, so you're screwed. Or McNeil wasn't making deep shots, so you were screwed. There are actual legitimate, I don't know if we want to go so far as to say a plethora of options, but you can spread it around and find guys to find baskets when you need them, instead of relying on one, maybe two people.
Yeah. So I kind of want to throw it in reverse for a second, but I don't want to lose the thread of what you just said, because what you said was good. A season ago, if McNeil and Sherman didn't have it, it was deflating for everybody for two reasons. One, they didn't have it. And two, they kept shooting because they had to. You really started the season looking at McNeil, Sherman, Jalen Bridges, and you would kind of hope that Isaiah Cottrell would get it at some point in the season, and that Malik Curry would get it at some point in the season. Did not and did happen. Trouble is that Bridges just never really elevated. So it could have been a 4 or 5 man offense, probably under ideal scenarios, was a 2-man offense that could not exist when Malik Curry came on the scene. What I mean by that is he was so ball dominant that he got his points on drives and free throws, and he was not the great assist guy. So that wasn't going to tie him to McNeil and Sherman, which were your offensive strengths. And obviously Cottrell and Bridges never had a lot going last year like they were supposed to. So very limited, and then just never evolved. This year, you have different point guards, you have different shooters, you have different forwards. And also, legitimately, Chris, when Jimmy Bell is out there, you have 5 people who can get you points. You could not say that last year. And not only can you say that this year, I think that would be a surprise to a lot of people, because they didn't know they were going to get out of the 5. It does not exist with James Okonkwo and Mohamed Wagi right now. But Bell's not taking a lot of shots. He's not missing either. He's not forcing stuff. They don't have that awful entry pass turnover as often anymore. He gets it on the offensive glass, but he gets handoffs too. He can score. Like, there's a chance for them to have 5 scores on the floor. That wasn't the case last year. Why is the scoring so important this year? Obviously, more points wins, but they're not rebounding it as well. So teams are getting more shots and more chances. West Virginia getting fewer chances, also because they're making more shots, but their defense isn't especially good either. Yet, last season, when they went south in a hurry, here are the points they allowed in some of these losses: 85, 77, 78, 72, 77, 81, 60. Probably should win when you give up 60 points, but a good team that has a bad defense can win giving up 72, 77 sometimes. And West Virginia can do that this year. Later on that season, 81, 78, 71, 77, 84, 82, 72. Losses, all of them. I do feel like this is a team that can get into the high 70s, 80s sometimes if it's not going to have a great defense and rebounding night, which that may be the sketches they have to perform for a while. But if you're scoring a little bit better and a little more often, you're not as pressed by the defense and the rebounding deficiencies.
I like your point earlier about the offensive options last year and kind of the last couple years. Out of these 5 players, who I guess we're calling starters, mostly play like out of this rotation from last year, tell me how many of these guys are able to create their own shot, score on their own. You just give them the ball and let them score. Taz Sherman? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sean McNeil? Not really, I don't think. I mean, Huggs said it himself. Like, you just get up in him and that's it. Like,
Yep.
I mean, he said that publicly after a game. You get up close to him, that's it. Malik Curry, yes, but to your point earlier, almost to a detriment. He creates his own shot. Jalen Bridges, no. Kedrian Johnson, he's getting better out of it. He was okay with it last year, so maybe half there. Gabe, no. Cottrell, no. Polycap, no. Kerrigan, no. Like, was that 9 guys? And you got one surefire shot creator, point scorer, and then 2 maybes.
Mm-hmm.
This year, you give the ball to Stevenson, he can shoot it. He can score it. He doesn't need somebody to set him up to score. Trey Mitchell doesn't need somebody to set him up to score. Toussaint doesn't need someone to set him up to score. Matthews, maybe a little bit. I don't think he's as much of a shot creator as some of these other guys. But he's been a little more active and can get his own points some this year than I think in previous. Kedrian, again, same players last year, maybe a little bit better this year, or so far has been. To your point on Bell, you give him the ball and he can score. It's not fancy. It's not crazy. It's something we talked about a couple of weeks ago where I said, what I like so much about him is he just says, I'm big, I'm strong. I go over my left shoulder with my right hand and it's going to go in if I'm close to the basket. That's it. Like, you don't have to get cute. When you are that big and that strong and you get that close to the basket, that's all you need to do. And that's all he has done. Like, even last game, like, what has he missed a shot in like the last couple of games?
No.
And he just goes over his left shoulder. He gets close to the basket. He goes over his left shoulder and he does a little jump hook when he gets it in the post, or, obviously getting little dump offs on screen and rolls or rebounds and dunking. That's all you need to do when you're that big. So I think having all of these options and having a big guy who can just finish around the rim, this offense just changes completely, or at least it changes what West Virginia can do offensively.
What do you think of the schedule so far? I pointed out because beat UAB in December. That feels good. They had a pretty good win against UConn last year. I don't see a win like that right now. UAB is their best one, but Florida looks like a good opponent. It's the Power 5, but I don't know. Is that different than like beating Clemson last year? You had the Marquette loss last year. You have the Xavier loss this year. I'm forcing comparisons here a little bit, but is this harder? Is this a better source of preparation? Should you feel better about what follows because of what preceded it this year?
Good question, because that UConn game was a solid win. I mean, I know they were ranked top 15 at the time, and they remain top 15-ish, top 25-ish. They were a good team. They won 20-some games. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't like a game that they won and then we found out later they stunk. Is this year's better than last year's? Like, I think, man, I mean, it's not that much. I mean, they've played some tougher opponents. Like, right. Purdue is far better than anything they've faced last year. Xavier might be up there with some good teams they faced. UAB, similar last year. And now Penn hasn't ended up being that good, but weren't they supposed to be like a team that was an Ivy League contender?
Yeah, and they played without their best player, 20 points a game that night.
Yeah, and I know that's not saying a lot, being, an Ivy League contender. Like, that's not going to make, be too big of a resume builder, but it's at least something. So I don't know. I mean, the schedule's not that much tougher, I don't think. Maybe a little bit, but as far as what big wins does West Virginia have, I don't think any of their wins yet is as big as the UConn one last year.
No, but you're right. They have seen better competition. I like that Xavier team. I think that's going to be a feisty team in the tournament too, because they can score so much. They have offensive firepower. Small sample here, but they're 2-1 in neutral courts. They're 1-1 in road games. Chris, all of last season, they were 3-2 in neutral courts and 1-10 in road games. So already matched their road total last year in just 2 games and 1 away from road neutral. So that's pretty good there too. Defensively, I just feel like they're gonna fix the ball screen thing here, and I think part of it is figuring out who is going to be in their backcourt and what they're going to do. they're going to get ball screen a lot, I think, if they play the 2 point guards just because of a size deficiency. But those 2 point guards could be kind of tricky to mess with. And then we haven't mentioned this. If they add a 6'5", 220-pound guard here in a couple of days, Jose Perez, they're going to be bigger in the backcourt, and you can do a whole bunch of different stuff with your combinations there too. But anyways, defensively, they're engineered to possibly do different things. They haven't really played hardly any zone yet. I don't think I've seen zone at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember it. They do extend and trap a little bit. They don't really press. Sometimes they will just to disrupt you, but with the number of players that they have, there's some depth potential there. I just think that they're so confounded by ball screens, straight line drives, and just organic half-court defense. They're not trying to be too exotic until they fix that. I just happen to like their personnel. Like, I think Bell has a chance to be a good backstop on defense. He might not block a ton of shots, but you're going to know he's there, and you're going to have to deal with him. And then Matthews and Mitchell, good length and agility, smart players, veterans. The guards, not great defenders outside of Kedrian Johnson, but Toussaint Stevenson, kind of like a Kobe Johnson gives you sometimes when he's in there too. Perez will help. There's a chance to mix and match some things to be tall or quick or aggressive and maybe even switch on the perimeter there too. I just can't believe that a Bob Huggins team is going to be this bad defensively in back-to-back seasons when he has so much more talent and experience, more importantly, to work with this year.
Yeah, I think they got options. I like the having options is always a good thing. Again, kind of building off your story from the other day of having plans and backup plans and everything. If you don't get backed into a corner of these are the guys I have to play or I have to play this style, that's not just for offense, that's for defense too. And I think West Virginia has some options on defense that they can kind of move pieces around, try different lineups. And again, when you add Perez, like I don't think people understand what it's like to have a 6'5", maybe 6'6", kind of point guardish, wingish type guy that can do that stuff. That's game-changing type stuff, like combination there, offensively and defensively. So it could really make things interesting. And I'm not expecting him to get eligible and then all of a sudden West Virginia is going to have a top 25 defense, start looking like Tennessee or Mississippi State out there holding teams under 50 points every game. But I do think he can help, tweak some things and give them some other options that'll help.
Negative defensive performance rating, according to Evan Miyakawa, all 4 years of college for him. That'll be tough. I do think he's going to be offensively a plus because he's so good at getting into the paint. All the highlights I've watched, he's just very good at getting from the perimeter to the elbow and then from the elbow to the baseline. So spin moves, fakes, he's going to get to the foul line a lot. He was number 4 in the country in free throw attempts and free throw makes last season. So maybe he gives it up on the other end, but he's probably going to find a way to get points too. Finally, Chris, the schedule the rest of the way. This is the concern. The Big 12 is tough. It's better than it was last year, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the most recent, maybe not the most recent, but maybe 2 weeks ago, 9 teams were either in the NCAA tournament projection or maybe like one of them was like first 4 out or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a deep league. And can you be deep and top heavy at the same time?
I think that's probably the explanation, but the top is also deep, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because
one reason the Big 12 is better is that West Virginia is better this year too. That helps. I'm not sure what to think of Kansas State, and it looks like Oklahoma State is maybe your basement team here. That's a first-year coach at Kansas State who's probably got a schedule record so far. Just good games for them to win and get some confidence early, and then Oklahoma State. But man, they could bank 2 wins there on the road to start. But then, Chris, back-to-back. Saturday, Wednesday at home, Kansas, Baylor. Kansas on a Saturday night in Morgantown. Students could be back for that. And then I'm just going to say the Baylor game is going to be noisy. We're going to know a lot about this team in the first 4 games of Big 12 play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said there, Kansas, Saturday the 7th, top 10 team. Baylor, currently 11, looks like what I'm looking at here. So they might be top 10 by that point. and Texas is top 10. Auburn, TCU, goodness gracious, like all that. January, like just January as a whole. At Oklahoma State, number 8 Kansas, number 11 Baylor, at Oklahoma, number 21 TCU, number 7 Texas, at Texas Tech, who's not ranked despite having pretty good team, pretty good history. Number 19 Auburn, at number 21 TCU. That is what, 6 ranked games, ranked opponents in the span, well, from the 7th to the 31st. So 6 ranked opponents in 24 days, and that's not including Texas Tech or Oklahoma. Shoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Big 12 is going to be difficult, obviously. You interrupt it with Auburn. That's no fun, too. Here's the way the schedule works out. You have road, home. So you knock out 2 on the road, and then you stay home. Their final 14, though, Chris. Road, home, road, home, road, home, road, home, road, home. That's home and roads, right? There was home, then road. Those home and roads are travels. And then I'm kind of like surprised and curious about what happens here. Their final 3 weekends of the season, their final 6 games are Saturday, Mondays. Road, home, road home. Travels. That's tough. Like, I don't know what they're going to do about that one. Like, that's going to be a stressor at the end of the season there. Those Saturday, Mondays are difficult, but when you're home for 2 of them and then you're traveling for 2 of them, you're on planes a lot. Those are at the end of the schedule. There's a cool thing there because it's tournament preparation, and this team may want to have that experience. You have a lot of practice time in between the Monday and Saturday games too, but man, that's a grind at the end of the season too.
Yeah, and they may say that they want to have that for experience until they're finishing a game at Allen Fieldhouse at 8:00 on a Saturday night, and then having to bus, I guess, or quick flight over to Ames, landing around midnight, 1 a.m., or getting to your hotel in Ames on midnight, 1 a.m. on Sunday, doing some walkthroughs on like a hotel ballroom floor before having to play a 9:00 game at Iowa State, and then getting back to Morgantown at 4 a.m., maybe, and then immediately going to class.
Yay. Cincinnati cannot get to the Big 12 fast enough, I think, for them.
That sounds miserable.
So we like this team and
We do.
postseason potential. I think how they navigate the Big 12 is going to be the difference here, which leads me to this, Chris. This is a question that's popped up too. How many Big 12 wins will this team need? I think we can say that right now they're 8-2. We would not be surprised if they were 10-2 going into Big 12 play, correct? That's 11-1 last year, 10-2 this year. So, okay, gonna have to win some games. West Virginia did not do that last year. The trouble is that quantity and quality are different. Like if you beat, Iowa State twice, Oklahoma State twice, Oklahoma twice, and you get Kansas State once, right? That's 7. Cool. 7-11, that might do it. But that's different than getting 7 where you get a couple picked off of the big teams here too. So quality, quantity is difficult here, but I do feel like 8 almost against no matter what will get you in. 7's harder. There's some historical precedent there that's hard to make a case for 7, but I don't see a way that West Virginia wins 10 in the Big 12 and is out of the tournament.
No, I'm with you. I'm trying to quickly, as you were talking, pull up my preview because I don't want to stray from my predictions in the preseason. Got to stick to it because not too much has changed about my thoughts on the team. I think I had them maybe going. No, I had them going 9-3. I think they'll be 10-2. Because I don't see them losing these last couple of non-conference games. But 8-10 in the Big 12 conference, I think that gets you in 8-10, especially if you even with a loss to Auburn. If you're sitting there 10-3, so 8-10, 20, wait, do the math for me on that. What is that? 18-13 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're 18-13 with 8 wins in the Big 12, you're in. Like, I'm not even. I don't, unless something drastically changes about our outlook on this entire conference as a whole. I'm not even listening to arguments to the contrary on that one.
So even cherry picking the 8 low hanging fruit, you're okay with that?
Mike said, I'm not listening to arguments to the contrary.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I think like that Auburn game, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but if you get 8 in the Big 12, that Auburn game kind of doesn't matter. I know it's there in the middle of the end of January, but like if you get 8 and 10 in the Big 12, like you're not hanging everything up on that Auburn game. Like, well, they only won 8, but they got Auburn. I don't think it matters. Conversely,
Yeah.
like, well, they got 8, they lost to Auburn. Well, they got 8 in the Big 12. It's harder. Like you have to look at the entire monster you're taking on there, which is what the Big 12 will be. Final 2 non-conference games before Big 12 play. Buffalo, 5-5, Chris. Someone told me they were good, and I was like, really? Let me look at that. And I was like, no, not especially. And then Stony Brook, a little different story this year, 3-7. They did just beat Sacred Heart though, so watch out.
Watch out. Mike, is this the Buffalo revenge game? What was it? The Hartford Casino revenge game with Buffalo?
They've had some games against Buffalo, tournament games. Didn't one guy get like 60 against them one year?
Yeah, what was that get? What casino? It was like in a casino, right? No. Where was I thought that was in a casino that game.
was Rhode Island.
That was Rhode Island, but they did lose to Buffalo like in their season opener. It was a season opener and they lost. And like West Virginia was ranked like top 20.
Mhm.
Yep, there it is, 2018. And lost 99-94
Most
in
points,
Morgantown.
I think the most points ever against a Huggins team, correct?
Yeah, 43 by Massenberg. That's who it was. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Mike, real quick. Yes or no, Jose Perez plays in one of these final 2 non-conference games?
Yes.
Yes?
I think so. I'm gonna
Okay.
go yes. Like I was told last weekend that they were trying to get some waivers done because they knew that semesters were ending, which means that you're eligible to play. Can't play in the first semester. You don't have to wait till the start of the second semester. You just can't play in the first semester. This is across the country. So you can Google it, and then some people did get waivers to go. Not Perez yet, but also they have some time there too. So I don't know how this works. And also, like, it's never been made completely clear as to whether they're trying to get him eligible for the second semester or just in general this season. We'll see. I don't know. Oscar Shibwe, is that a parallel? I don't know. Like, he played the first semester here and wasn't eligible until the first semester at Kentucky. Like, Perez practiced with his team. Does that mean he competed and he wouldn't be eligible? Like, I have not been able to get a straight answer on that from people. And like, I just like people will not comment on it or even talk to me about it because it's just up in the air right now. But from the very beginning, they said that they believe he can be eligible for the start of the second semester. So we'll see. But if he doesn't play this year, that's going to be tricky too. But obviously, the first semester is over, so he can play as soon as Saturday if he's a second semester guy.
Got it.
Time will tell. We'll try to take you through Buffalo, Stony Brook, all the way to the start of Big 12 play and see if the optimism here has more longevity than it did a season ago. Until then, I'm Mike Casaza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll talk to you then.